With me now is CNN legal analyst Shanlon. He was also the lawyer for former Trump aide Paul Manafort's longtime right-hand man, Rick Gates, who pleaded guilty in the Mueller probe. All right, Shan, how big of a potential issue is it that Roger Stone was asking Jerome Corsi to get in touch with Julian Assange? What do you make of this?
Well, I think perhaps Sarah should get hired on by the Mueller team, first of all, for that kind of investigative reporting. Absolutely. You know, it's just very, very puzzling as to why the two of them would be in such intense communications about this if there was nothing to it. So from the prosecutorial standpoint, that's just like a huge red flag that's going to keep you going at them. So what I make of that is it seems like there is something that they are working on specifically to counter what they're anticipating coming out. I mean, the reference to it's Podesta's turn, I mean, it really defies common sense to think that's anything but the knowledge about the emails coming out. So it's also, again, from an investigative standpoint, it's an extraordinary scene to have him explaining all this on television. I'm sure that if he varies in the least bit from what he was explaining to the prosecutors, that's further problems for him in terms of his false statements to them. So it's very unclear what he thinks he's doing.
That was the other thing I was going to ask you. Like, if he was negotiating a plea deal with the special counsel, why on earth would he want to, would he speak so publicly?
It does not make any sense. I'm assuming he's getting legal advice, and I would tell him just to be quiet. I mean, there's no way we would allow a client to go on national television and begin giving their version of it at the same time that they're being interviewed by the special counsel. I mean, he may be taking the viewpoint that there's no hope of convincing the special counsel that he can get a good deal or that he didn't do it, so maybe he figures he'll just throw it all out there in the hopes, perhaps, of attracting the president's attention.
On Manafort and his cooperation deal, the idea of the fact that his team was talking to the Trump team about what he was telling Mueller, not illegal, right? But isn't it quite unusual if he's actually supposedly working with Mueller that he would also then be telling Trump's team what he's talking about?
Yeah, I think that's very unusual. I've heard some commentators say, no big deal, it's a joint defense agreement. I would never be in a joint defense agreement with someone who's cooperating with the government. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I think what's particularly intriguing about this is the sort of two-way street aspect of it, which is if the Trump team is suggesting to Manafort's team, what would be useful to say, I think there's the potential for converting some of the lawyers now into witnesses, because if you're worried about Manafort lying, if you're worried about obstruction, you're going to want to know what were the instructions at this point, and that might be an attempt to pierce the normal privileged aspect of that. It's very, very risky business for lawyers to be doing that.
And so many questions. What would Trump do with the information that they got, and why would there be a motivation to do this if it was anything other than trying to, I don't know, seek a pardon maybe? Great to see you, Shan. I really appreciate it. Much more to come on this.